Apple targets a 2025 to launch self-driving car without steering wheel. So Apple is reportedly accelerating development of its electric car targeting 2025 as possible launch date and now wants to make it fully self-driving. The long-rumored Apple Car project was recently put under the leadership of company veteran Kevin Lynch, who spearheaded the development of the Apple Watch. Under his leadership, the company now hopes to not only release an electric car, but also make the first version fully autonomous, Bloomberg reported, citing people familiar with the matter. And Apple stock rose more than 2% to a new all-time high of $157.87 per share on the news. And at the same time, shares of Elon Musk electric company Tesla lost its gain for the day and turned negative. So the car project is known internally at Apple as the Special Projects Group or Project Titan. It was started around 2014 and has suffered from a high rate of executive turnover. Most recently, former head of the team, Doug Field, left the project for a job at Ford, according to Bloomberg, and was replaced by Lynch, who has no experience in car manufacturing. The company is now targeting a launch in 2025, faster than the 5 to 7 year timeline that some engineers had expected as recently as earlier this year, according to Bloomberg, though the report cautioned that timing is fluid. The ideal design for the car would feature no steering wheel or pedals, the report added, and at least one internal design, passengers would face inward toward each other. Which kind of reminds me of that one movie, iRobot, which I believe had Will Smith in it. The company recently hit a milestone in developing the self-driving tech, and it could soon begin road testing, according to Bloomberg. And despite the recent advancements, some within the team are skeptical of the ambitious 2025 timeline. The report said the company is aggressively staffing up in an effort to accelerate development, including the recent recruitment of CJ Moore, Tesla's former self-driving software director, according to the report. The Special Projects Group is seeking an accomplished mechanical engineer to lead the development of mechanical systems with safety critical functions, one recent Apple job listing reportedly read. So you will use your passion for figuring things out to help design safety systems and to lead the testing and countermeasure of those systems. The company is still discussing what the business model for the car would eventually look like, according to the report, with some internally floating the idea of a self-driving Uber-like fleet of rental cars. Successfully rolling out a fully self-driving car has been the ambition of many electric car startups, most notable Tesla. But even Musk's electric car company is still likely years away from offering such a feature widely, analysts say. We would assign the chances of Apple unveiling its own standalone car by 2025 as 60% to 65%, Dan Ives, managing director at Wedbush Securities, said. The company has been working in Cupertino for years around this autonomous vision, and we believe a potential larger strategic partnership with an established auto player such as Hyundai, Tesla, GM, Ford, or Volkswagen would be a golden partnership for the next decade, tapping into this EV opportunity. Now, the thing is, you also got to understand too that actually Apple basically kind of like discussed this a little bit and basically said that they want to release this car when it's fully done, meaning they're pretty much not going to be working with a car manufacturer because they probably want everything done in house when they know everything is perfect on that car. Because a lot of people pretty much know this with Apple that they're not usually the first to all these tech type of creations. They're usually the last, but it's usually done in a way where the quality is on point, right? Compared to the majority of their competitors, right? They basically wait to see what works, what's the best way to do this stuff, and then they're like, okay, now we're going to release a product when we can basically know that there's pretty much not going to be anything really negative about it. Now, of course, you're going to have like a small percentage of their goods end up basically, having some sort of production issue to it, right? That being said, in the grand scheme of things, Apple typically only releases a product that they know will be 10 out of 10, right? Or 9.9 out of 10, right? They always typically do that. And that's something to really understand. So, Is it really a good prediction that they are going to be able to release a car at 2025 that is fully done? Honestly, probably not. I could see something more like 2030, maybe even like 2035, or for it to be fully done, right? Because you got to think about it. They got to do all the manufacturing, they got to do all the testing, they got to make sure that nothing really ever leaks out. They got to basically keep on doing things to the point where it is basically perfect. And the reason why they have to do that is that they're trying to sell a car that basically has no steering wheel and no pedals, okay? There's a lot of issues that can happen when you try to sell a car that has no steering wheel or pedals, okay? Like there's a lot of issues. And by the way, if you were to get something like that or get like a Tesla and you really like the autopilot stuff, make sure your life insurance is up to date. Make sure your life insurance is good enough to take care of your family or people that care, like basically rely on your income, because anything can go wrong with these creations, right? Like people think that like, hey, driving a car or like riding in a car is like no big deal, right? Like they just like basically stare at their phone while their Tesla is on autopilot on the highway, right? Like they don't even look up. Like there's a lot of Tesla drivers that literally just leave their car on autopilot and never look up, right? And if you do that, you can, but you need to make sure that you have good car insurance and good life insurance because guess what? Tesla's autopilot is not 100% effective. It is not 100% correct all the time, and you are basically riding around in a 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 pound machine of metal, right? You could do a lot of damage. You could harm people. You could make people pass away to another existence, right? It could get into a very bad situation if you 100% rely on these sort of things. And the fact that Apple is basically skipping the whole multitude of steps of testing it in practice, like in the public, right? Can bring about a lot of issues because there's so many factors to react to, right? Like how is a fully autonomous vehicle going to react to a random deer that jumps randomly into the highway, right? How is a fully automated vehicle going to react to some road rage individual basically tossing their like big gulp that they were drinking at your car, right? How is a fully automated vehicle going to react to a ladder that flies off of a construction truck, right? Like, how are they going to react to that? And that's why you should never 100% rely on these technologies until they can prove that 10 out of 10 times they are, well, basically, it's more like out of like 10 million out of 10 million, right? That they are correct in their reactions to certain issues, right? And really, the only way you could have a fully autonomous vehicle that's truly effective is that everyone has a fully autonomous vehicle because then every single other car or vehicle that is fully autonomous knows what the other cars are actually doing, where they are located, and how they are reacting to things, right? So the only factors that end up, basically that they need to react to are things that they 100% can't control, which are like random animals going into the highway, right? Or something like basically nature forcing something onto the road, right? In that situation, then I could understand fully autonomous vehicles being worthwhile and actually truly being effective. But right now, it's not effective. In 5 years from now, it's not going to be effective. But you never know, right? But the good news is that it seems like Apple for the long term, in terms of like financially speaking, if you were to invest into Apple, is probably a pretty good idea, right? It's probably a pretty good idea to go long on Apple for, the next 5, 10, 15 plus years, right? By the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt, go to 40inbox.com.